The Bible says it's a time for everything.
Yeah,
it's time to laugh and everything.
People think just because you're saved or involved in the church that you can't have a good time.
Yeah, I have a good time all the time. I believe in that. Mm-hmm. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Mm-hmm. That's what I like to say.
By you being a female minister, I've seen a lot of things that a lot of females say, like sometimes it can be challenging and difficult being a female minister, especially because some of the old school people don't believe that a woman should be preaching. Have you ever experienced any of that?
I have, especially with me being from an area that is rural. You know, with Rail being a rural area, I can remember being told before that I would not be allowed in the pulpit and different things like that, and even treated very differently. You know, when you go to churches and you preach and there are a bunch of men there, they'll invite all the men in the pastor study to sit and gab or whatever it is they're doing, but they don't show women the same opportunity. But I'm going to tell you something that's kind of funny, a little funny. Before I got called into the ministry, I didn't believe in women preachers either. Let me tell you why. Because my whole thing was this: if I become a preacher and I'm the pastor of a church, am I going to be my husband's pastor? But my husband's supposed to be over me. So how am I going to be? So I didn't believe in it either. And I'm going to tell you this is how funny God is. God will take that thing that you thought was whatever, you know, that we put our little spin on, and flip it upside down. Because when he called me into the ministry, he showed me. He had to really, really show me. And so not only did I have to learn for myself, but then I had the men that I had to come up against. And what I do is when they don't recognize me, I just go on because they didn't call me anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't get all, bent out of shape about whether or not a man will allow me to come in the pulpit, whether they show me any respect. That's not between me, and that's not on me. God called me.
You could be a man and some of them still won't invite you up. But I'm like you. I don't get too caught up in the titles. I don't get too caught up in where I sit, just as long as I know I'm serving.
Exactly. And I just do what God asked me to do. He didn't tell me everybody was going to agree with me. He didn't say everybody was going to like me. But what he did say is that he would be there for me regardless. And he hasn't let me down yet. So I just keep moving on in God. But we get a lot of that. But I think it's getting better now. The younger pastors and preachers, they're more accepting.
Mm-hmm. And you see more and more women
pastors now.
Yep. And but you got to think, I tell somebody before, women were the first person to carry the gospel.
They were.
Well, you could go back to Mary. She carried Jesus in the womb.
And Elizabeth with John the Baptist.
And then not only that, when Jesus rose from the dead, who was the first people that he told to go and tell the others? So if you're preaching the gospel, you're just preaching that Jesus, has risen. So
amen.
They were the first people. But yeah, with the way the women, the men are not in the home. So
a lot of homes are at.
Yeah.